Well, hey there. I'm Renn, one of your hosts, and as always, I'm joined by my brother-in-law Scott
Yo.
and my brother Harrison.
What are you going to do with all that money, you hump? Talk to me. What are you going to do? Get laid.
And this is Cinema Slime, a movie conversation podcast, and right now we are beginning our journey into June, and the film category is Forgive Me, Lord, for I have synthed. And a quick reminder, you can use the chapters in your podcast app to skip to the main event. And today we're heading to Paris, New Jersey, Jerusalem, South America, and New Mexico to experience William Friedkin's 1977 film, Sorcerer. Just a humble brag. Nothing crazy, but we already talked about this, but just for the audience, I want everyone to know that I went to Ecola State Park at Indian Beach and I stood where they filmed the last scene in Point Break with Patrick Swayze and Keanu Reeves, and it was marvelous. And I just wanted to brag about that.
That sounds so magical right now. Did you like fake wrestle with like a ghost Keanu Reeves and then run out into the ocean and surf that final wave? Because I can see it now.
It was pretty cool.
Handcuffed.
Don't forget the handcuffs. Yeah, it was pretty magical, and it was cool. We showed up to Indian State Park. All the family was there, except for you, Scott, and that's a good segue into what you were doing at that time. But I just felt the spirit of Swayze, and it was cool. They had this plaque there with a map, and it shows like 4 other films that they filmed on the same beach. So there was Point Break, Goonies, the Twilight movies, and then around the corner was where they filmed the scene in Kindergarten Cop, which I haven't seen, but I thought that was kind of cool. Just a pretty star-studded beach.
A good one. Nice bumpy road to get
cool.
right up there, up to the beach itself. It's good.
Yeah,
Through the woods.
Also another tie into today's discussion. But what were you doing, Scott? Everyone was there but you. Where the heck were you, man?
Yeah, I gave a talk at the Portland Bitcoin conference about art, and what art could be like if we actually had the money and time to be artists instead of content creators. And it was pretty rad. Like every artist in the conference came to the one talk about art, and I got to sit and get heckled by questions at the end, and everyone was super sweet. They had really good questions and signed books afterwards, and managed to inherit a pinball machine in the process of that. So I'm pretty excited about that. Yeah, it was super rad. It's the first conference I've given a talk at, and as far as conferences go, it had this super chill Portland vibes. It was really intimate, small conference. Yeah, just made really good connections and got to geek out about the thing that I've written a book about. So that was cool.
That's awesome.
There you go, man. You got like this conference bug now. I'm gonna see you on TV sometime soon. And
I'm famous. I'm on YouTube.
The crowds. There. Well, duh. That's awesome.
Hey, wait a minute. You already were on YouTube.
What? No. Wait. You put me on YouTube?
I just real quick, and then I want to get to your segment, Harry. But I don't know if you guys know who this guy is, but it tripped me out because the whole way I was anticipating going to the Indian Beach to where they filmed Point Break. I was like, that'd be so crazy if I ran into that guy who surfs, who I talked about the movie with. I mentioned it on a podcast a few weeks back. I was like, that'd be so crazy if I saw him. I'm just gonna say it in case it happens. So we get there, and there's all these surfers there, and I'm looking for him. I don't see him. And then I look over, and I see this guy get out of his car, and he looks super familiar. And I had like a starstruck, not totally, but he was a fellow film discussion podcaster. His name's Chris Ryan. And I was like, oh my God, that's him. He's right there. So shout out to Chris Ryan of the Rewatchables. I saw him in person. It was very weird. And I'm proud to say I didn't interrupt his Memorial Day weekend. I withheld it. I didn't go ask him for tips or anything weird. Maybe I'll tell him that. I'll send him an email and just say, hey, I didn't say hi to you on purpose, but shout out to you.
He's listening to it right now and just being like, dude, you should have came up. I would have made a hot dog for you.
Thought about it. I honestly would have just like I wouldn't have even known what to say. I was like playing it in my head, and I was like, I should just say nothing. Default to that.
Pretty much.
Take the safe route right there.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I got just a little trivia game for us to play, okay? So, in my infinite list making, I was going through making a list of movies and I was keeping track of directors and things like that. And one realization I made, or actually I knew this, but just kind of clicked in my head. I was like, oh, every movie has a tagline attached to it. Like a one-liner that just grips you and makes you want to watch the film. So, of course, I went through and I made a list of all the taglines for all the movies we've covered on the show. And I thought I could read some of them, and you guys can try and guess which movie belongs to which tagline.
Finally, a game I can win.
Okay, I will say, so this is just, I'm just going to say the tagline. Whoever says it first, you win. This, I will say, if you want to do an open book, you can go to the Plug Cinema Slime Podcast website. And you can look at it. It's only going to belong to movies we've covered on the show. And then I went through and grouped some that I'm like, these seem pretty easy. These seem a little harder. And then there's some that are just my all-time favorites. So, you guys ready?
Let's do it.
Let's go.
Sounds fun.
Let's start with some easier ones. In space, no one can hear you scream.
Alien.
Dang
That's a
it.
good one too, right? That's like
That was quick.
that's a really solid tagline that just
I've used
grips
that
you and
one
makes you wanna
in
watch it.
pitches for video games. I've been like, you know how in Alien, it's in space, no one can hear you scream. The pitch for this is.
That's so funny. I love that. You're just like, I just want to say this tagline more often. So I'm gonna find ways to
for
fit it
real.
in. Next one. The future of law enforcement.
RoboCop.
There you go, Ren.
Yes.
Yep.
1-1.
Pretty standard, I would say. I thought that was pretty easy. The monster movie that breaks new ground.
The Returning, because he digs up his son.
If only. I do have that one listed somewhere though, but it's not The Returning.
Tremors.
There you go. Tremors.
Yeah.
Good job, Ren. Good job, Ren. Okay. I think this one's a pretty good one. The King versus the King of the Dead.
Bubba Hotep.
Yes. Scott, I thought you'd jump in there and you would just know right away.
That's a pretty tagline. That's almost
Okay,
better than
I
the
think-
movie.
Okay, I think this tagline. Okay, well, I'm gonna say the tagline, then I have a thing to say about it. Okay. A new funny film about love with a bit of time travel.
About time.
Okay, I just want to say this. I was talking to Cameron about time and how awesome it was. I feel like they missed the mark so hard on all the marketing. Like from the poster to the trailer to the tagline, it's like you guys were so focused on the first half, and I feel like you never understood that the second half is like where it's really at. I just think it's so funny that the tagline is all about like it's a romantic comedy and there just happened to be time travel. I don't know. It's just funny to me.
Misleading.
Maybe no, all the women will watch this, and therefore they will make their husbands watch it, and so we'll get more people when we bring in the women.
That actually makes sense.
Maybe. Let's move. I'm going to up the difficulty just a little bit, okay? These are ones that I'm like, that's a little vague, but I think you can figure it out. The Chicago Dream is that big.
Untouchables.
There you go. Solid. Okay, this one might be a little harder. Conquer your fate.
Conquer your fate.
Conquer
Magnolia?
your fate. No, I'll give you that one though.
How
Magnolia
dare you bring up
is
that movie?
things fall down, people look up, and when it rains, it pours. That's Magnolia's tagline. I'm just like, Jesus. I will say, Conquer Your Fate. It's one of our earlier movies.
Detroit Rock City?
No, that's I have that one. Actually, the tagline has the title of the movie in it, so I disqualified that one.
I don't know. You stumped me. I can't
All
think
right.
of what it could be. Oh, wait.
Oh,
Quantum Cowboys.
nah, nope.
They don't even have a tagline.
They do, but I don't think it was that good, so I didn't list it. The Northman. That's the
Nice.
tagline for the
Yeah.
Northman.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. I
okay.
can see Fates. All right.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Okay. The search for our beginning could lead to our end.
Prometheus.
There you go. Let's see. The future is history.
And it.
Nope.
Dang
I
it.
think I had that one down, and I think I remember being like, "That's a really lame tagline for a pretty good movie." The future is history. It is a time travel movie.
Is it monkeys?
It is 12 Monkeys, Scott. Props to you.
Oh,
Which I think fits pretty
Whew.
dang good.
that is a good one. It's a little
Okay.
too smart for its own good, though.
Right. Okay, we'll do one hard one, then I'm gonna go to some of my favorites. This one might be a little harder. Fear, sacrifice, contact.
But we haven't watched Contact.
Europa Report.
Oh, good job, Renn. That is your Europa report. That was pretty impressive.
Solid.
Here's some of my favorite ones. Nothing warms the heart like a cold nose.
What? It sounds Don Bluthie. I don't know. Oh, is it a dog? All dogs go to heaven?
Oh, yeah.
Yep. It's
I
all
get
dogs
it.
go to heaven. I was
right.
like,
I
that.
was right about the Don
I was
Bluth.
like, that's a
funny.
really solid tagline. Okay. The prisoner, his cell.
Prisoner, his cell. One flew over the cuckoo's nest?
Nope. Though
It's not that. I don't know.
Yeah. Gattaca.
Okay.
Oh, dude, that's way too smart for its own good.
I know, right? That was one of those like, that's
Cell?
really smart. That's pretty smart.
Get it?
Okay.
It's funny because it's the multi-ordinality of word.
A piece of paradise, a half a block wide, and a whole summer long.
Sandlot.
Sandlot.
Yes. That's a good one, too. That's a really, really good one. I already forgot how I used to feel about you.
Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Yep. I really like that one. I was like, whoa, that hit me harder than I thought it would. Okay, got just a few more. Some people are just born to be buried.
Oh, I know this.
I'm pretty sure it's a line in the movie.
Oh yeah, I'm totally. I don't
can give
think
you-
it's Devil All the Time. Let's see.
Yeah, it is. It is the devil all the time.
It is Devil
it
all
is?
the time.
All right, cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
It is Devil all the time. There you go. Okay, two more here.
Okay.
If he's crazy, what does that make you?
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Yep. I really like that one. Okay, and this is my all-time favorite one. I literally like took a step back and guffawed at this one. In America, heroes aren't raised, they're orphaned.
American Tail.
Nope.
No.
Batman.
No.
Yeah, it's Batman Returned.
That is not Batman Returns.
Oh, it's gotta be, though.
They Live.
Was this Point Break?
It's not They Live. It's not Point Break.
Oh, come on, man.
In our podcast, this was a very formative movie for someone.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Red Dawn.
Oh,
Isn't that
so-
so good? Isn't that such a good tagline? It's so crazy to me.
it's so dark.
I know. I was like, that's the darkest crap ever, especially when you add it to the film. Oh my gosh. By the way, Fox and the Hound, it's literally like a new animated adventure that all the family can go to. Like, that's so dumb. Like, that's so
really funny.
stupid. It's so sad. And then just for a transition here, I'm gonna give you Sorcerer's tagline. You ready?
Yes.
Let's go.
The only wages worth running for, dying for, killing for are the wages of fear.
4 desperate outcasts from across the globe find themselves trapped in a destitute, oil-drilled South American village with no legal escape. When a massive oil well explosion ignites a roaring inferno nearby, their only ticket out is a suicidal mission to transport leaking, highly volatile and unstable nitroglycerin dynamite boxes across 218 miles of treacherous jungle. Driving 2 dilapidated flatbeds over unstable terrain, every bump, root, and rope bridge threatens to trigger a catastrophic blast and vaporize them instantly. This is William Friedkin's 1977 film, Sorcerer. All right, I'm gonna start things off. I know this is weird for you, Scott, but I actually have to start the episode this time. It's been a while, and I'm not stealing it from you. It's just my responsibility.
Don't worry, Scott. We'll get to you next week. I know you're itching, but we'll get back to you.
It's me, me.
All right, my history with this insane film. So, watched this for the first time about 2 years ago. I'd sort of been going on a little bit of a Roy Scheider deep dive. And like most people, Jaws was my first of his films. Honestly, didn't think much of him. And then I saw The French Connection. I was like, hey, it's that guy. And then I watched All That Jazz. Movie blew my freaking socks off. I thought he was incredible in that. And then around that same time, Scott, you came over that one night and we watched 2010, The Year We Make Contact.
Mm-hmm.
And I really want to rewatch that movie because the night we watched that was the day of my cousin's. He passed away that day, and I was just in like such a weird fog. But I'm really glad we watched that movie because it helped me take my mind off of that. But I need to rewatch that. In fact, we should probably do it on this podcast. But we'll get around to that.
Agreed.
So at the time, I was living with my father-in-law. He'd lost his wife. Speaking of people passing too soon. But lost his wife of 30 plus years. It was a really depressing, rainy winter and very challenging time in both of our lives. Obviously him way more than me, but we really got some awesome time to connect. And one of the ways we did that was by watching movies. Whether we watched them together or not, it just came down to like, I would just go to the library. I would come home with 10 or 15 Blu-ray DVDs, plop them down on the counter, and he'd be like, oh, I remember this one, or oh, I love this one. And it was kind of fun because I would get into this mode of like, oh, I bet Mike would really like this, or this old classic. I wonder if he's seen this. And I was like kind of reminiscing about it. And it was sort of unrelated to you guys, but still like a little seed of where this podcast came from was just like my love for talking about films. And it's just a really cool meeting of the minds and talking like philosophy and films and what it means to us. And I can't remember how I got recommended this one. I think it was from Reddit, just on some group. Like I watched an old movie or something. And Allie and the kids were out of the house. It was just me and Mike. And I had this on Blu-ray. I don't know what they were doing, but they were gone all the rest of the day. And I had remembered that a family member had recently donated some marijuana THC infused cookies. So we ate those cookies. And then I pressed play on this movie. And we had one of the most magical travels off to far off places. We went to Jerusalem, New Jersey, South America. It was so intense, nail biting, disorienting, and such an immersive viewing experience. One of my absolute favorite movie watching experiences of my entire life. This is like near the top. And I think the first half hour of this movie, I was really unsettled and like kind of terrified of what I may have got us into because none of it was connecting. Like all these seemingly unrelated storylines and random, like I didn't know who to root for. Like it was just weird. And then by the 45-minute mark, the journey really begins in this movie. And by that time, me and Mike, we were literally melting in our seats. And I can remember after the bridge crossing scene. By the way, if you have a weak sphincter, do not watch this movie. But we were shitting ourselves, and I swear to you, I had to peel myself off of the ceiling, and then I had to scrape off my father-in-law off the wall. And then I don't know if you remember, but after the bridge scene, it just there's kind of like a hard cut to the next scene, and I just remember we just looked at each other and started hysterically laughing. Like, what the fuck did we just watch? And then from there, we both spiraled into hell along with Roy Scheider. It was pure cinema magic, clearly unlike anything I'd ever seen, and I felt like I was in South America. And this was one of the only films that immediately after I was done watching it, I logged on to Letterboxd and put it in my top 4. Like,
ooh, there you go, man.
It was insane, and I'm curious how your guys' viewing experience was, because I'm sure it was very different than mine.
my
Yeah, well, I
gosh.
wasn't high. Dude, yeah, so I popped this in, and I mean, the whole movie's good. The first half is disjointed. I mean, the whole movie, I was like, this movie has so many bodies. It's just like
Yeah.
burning bodies, bloody bodies, shot bodies, broken
Naked
bodies,
sweaty bodies. Yeah.
sweaty
So
bodies.
sweaty. Oh
It's
my
just
God.
a body movie. And the other thing that I kept thinking was 70s cars seem so uncomfortable.
They are.
Like they're just pieces of metal with wheels on them and engines, and they go really fast down roads. And like, I don't feel like that's a safe vehicle. And there's a lot of cars that people dead in them and carted away in. And I was like, this is such a tangible movie. Like I can feel and smell and see and taste this
Mhm.
movie. And all of the beginning stuff, I was like, what am I watching? I
Yeah.
have no idea where this is going. I had no idea what the movie was about. I went in so blind into this movie. I didn't even read like the synopsis
Mhm.
before I pressed play. You know, it was just like, I
The
know
best way to do
Roy
it.
Scheider's in it. Man,
Yeah.
once they start driving the trucks, I was like, this is the worst idea ever. Who in their right mind came up with this movie? And then, gosh, just the things that they made those trucks do in real life are just so crazy. And I genuinely loved this movie.
Yeah.
Definitely one of my favorite movies I've ever seen. One of those, like, I'm so glad that I was forced to watch this movie because, I mean, with a title like Sorcerer from 70s, I was like, I don't know.
Synth.
I don't know.
Right.
But golly, it was so good.
So yeah, I popped this movie in, and I ended up, I had to watch it kind of in pieces, and I unfortunately, my first piece was that first, just the intro to basically once they get to South America,
Mhm.
like I had to stop and like go to work or do a bunch of stuff. So I watched that first half, and I went like the rest of the day just like, I don't know, man. Like I don't know how any of this connects. I'm not really invested in anybody.
It's the mafia version of Magnolia.
Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, like, no, honestly, that's how I was feeling. I was like, man, is this just going to be another
Oh my
Magnolia
God.
moment
I know
where
what
I
you
just
mean.
don't know what's going on? Then
Yeah.
I finally sat down to finish it. And I was like, this movie needs to be the poster child for just let it cook. Just let it cook and it'll get there. And then the thing is this, it's like the first section is a little rough. And then you get the section before they actually start driving, and you're like, okay, I'm kind of vibing. And it's like, just let it cook, just let it cook. And then right when they start driving, it just goes off to the races. And it was a mind blowing experience for me too. Like the second half of the film really makes up for the first half of the film for me
Yeah.
personally. I was telling you this, Scott, but this movie actually gave me like 1917 vibes. Like it was giving me that vibe, and I was trying to dissect exactly how I felt about it. And I think it just gave off this aura of like, we have to keep going. We have to keep going. There's no stopping. There's no quitting. There's no giving up. We have to keep going. And we have to figure out how to get past this giant tree. We have to figure out how we're going to cross this bridge. Because if we don't, we're dead. And then our lives are just meaningless, completely 100% meaningless. And that was a really cool feeling.
There's no escape for those characters. It was just like, yeah, there was no option other than to do the whole driving a truck with volatile nitroglycerin across a jungle.
Totally.
That's the least of the bad options.
I mean, it's such a crappy situation, but it's so interesting to put human beings in situations like that and to see how they react, what they do, if they're gonna, put on their boots and just figure it out instead of just giving up. And I just, you just don't see that on a daily basis. You know what I mean? Like we all live like pretty decent lives. Like we're not in situations where we have to do things that are that grungy, that dirty, that hard all the time. So it was really cool to watch this movie and actually see
You
it.
know what made me think about that is like when they're like in the pouring rain and you just see how soaking wet they are. I was like, I'm such a pussy. Like, like I am so weak, like and so uncultured. Okay, just based on what you guys were just talking about, I wrote this down too because watching that whole disorienting beginning of the movie the
Mhm.
second time, it was really able to like appreciate it a little bit more this time. Friedkin's imagery, the way that he made this movie, just the feeling of entrapment, like the long, slow drip of being stuck in that crappy situation in purgatory. But we see Scheider or Scanlon in the bar, and he's looking up at that really hot Coca-Cola model, like sitting in paradise drinking the Coke. And he stares up, and then suddenly his reality is that he's staring at this old, scraggly, bearded man serving him like diarrhea water instead. And then it was cool. And then it also shows Serrano, played by Bruno Kramer. He's the Italian rich guy that gets sent off, but he's
Mhm.
staring at that butterfly that's like
Mhm.
stuck inside him, like in a cage. And that's just the metaphor for how he's feeling. And he's just in the sweaty, humid heat. And then there's a part
Mhm.
where he's working on some sort of, he's like tightening like pipes and stuff and hard at work. And then in the distance, he sees like the CEO or like his bosses, and they're like up in working in like an office. And with those little subtle things where he's just kind of like remembering his past rich life as a businessman.
If you enjoy watching our show on Spotify or YouTube and you want to be more involved, we encourage you to please come check out our Patreon community. Not only does our Patreon community get every episode you see on YouTube early, fully uncut, uncensored, and ad-free, but we're also doing Patreon exclusive episodes as well as Q&As, video clips, and access to our entire film catalog. It's a lot of fun and a nice way to say thanks for the cost of a cup of coffee every month. Now, back to the show.
Just little things like that I totally, I mean, I wasn't in the right state of mind, but I did not notice the first time.
Oh yeah. No, most definitely. Yeah. There's a lot of layers.
I love the conversation when the two of them are having a conversation at the bar. And he's like, climate not what you expected? He's like, the climate was exactly what I expected. It's like, I chose to be here and I still hate it. You know?
Yeah, let's talk about the first half of this film, and then we can get on to the really, really good stuff. But I was kind of curious. So I think part of the reason that the first half of this film just doesn't exactly mesh well, it kind of goes from like calm, and then there's a big explosion. Like, there's a lot of this action going on and a lot of, things occurring in it. And then once they get to South America, there's this really long lull without really a lot of things occurring. So it kind of felt like it was just prepping us for all these kind of big explosions, big action moments. And then it sort of just lulled you into the second half of the film. And I was contemplating, I was like, how important is the first part of this film, do you think? Do you think the movie could have started just in South America and maybe they could attack those stories in as flashbacks? Or do you think it's important? Do you think it's really important that we establish who these people are in the first part of the film?
I can think of a couple of examples of introducing a larger cast in a more save the cat kind of structure. So think of like a Devil All the Time. You're kind of being narrated manually through this almost whimsical introduction to all of main characters throughout that movie. You know, like, oh, they met here at the little diner, and these people also met at the dinner, and kind of walking through that. And it is compressed to the first quarter of the movie. And you get a flavor of who they are. You don't really get to know them. Or you could look at like Ocean's 11. And Ocean's 11 on purpose is a much more punchy movie. It's supposed to be just really entertaining, but they've got a lot of people to introduce, and they introduce them by showing what they do in context real quick. So you're like, okay, I get their level of funny or how they fit in.
Mhm.
And it's this similar style of like small vignettes that show the character, and then let's get to the real movie. And this movie just spends so much time on them that, like, I like how long each section is. I like that you get to see in depth enough. I think the only one that like I really didn't understand at all was the assassin guy that just one shot the guy and walked out.
the most casual assassination I've ever seen in my life. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's it.
But
all right, let's move on.
the bombing in Jerusalem and the Italian, what is the connecting thread at all? So you had some anchor. Like, I'm fine with the amount of time. I just really didn't know where we're going. And it wasn't even obvious when they were in South America. These were even the same guys because they were like so dirty. And I was like, oh, I think that Italian.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was oh, starting to piece together who these guys, and they're all like outcasts. Okay. But then I was like, all right, so what are they going to do? Like join forces and become movies called Sorcerer? And that was the hard part. Just no bone throw. Now, in hindsight, it all makes sense. And I think it's really good. But God, it was probably the worst movie to go in blind in.
No, it's good you did that, because then you get the research on the back end, and then it makes it more fulfilling. So this is loosely based on a 1953 film called The Wages of Fear, which is directed by H.G. Clouzot. I don't know if I'm saying that perfectly.
Clouzot.
And
That'd be Clouzot.
Yeah, Clouzot. And side note, this movie also inspired Christopher Nolan to help him with Oppenheimer. But anyways, so in that movie, a lot of the theme has to do with fate. And there's this weird metaphor. I don't really know a ton about it, but it's this wizard of fate sort of idea that he kind of plays with in this movie. I have a little quote here, but he's kind of talking about the movie, but he says, "The sorcerer is an evil wizard, and in this case, the evil wizard is fate. The fact that somebody can walk out of their front door and a hurricane can take them away, an earthquake or something falling through the roof, no matter what people do to try to control their lives, they still lose out in the end." So, what I think is really cool is kind of what you were talking about, how all set up for these four characters. It does seem drawn out and kind of unnecessary at times, but when you take that into effect, and then also karma and echoes of the past, which is another theme kind of hidden in this movie, it kind of makes sense. So Victor, or Serrano, the French fraudster guy, he fled France after his corporate crimes drove his business partner to commit suicide by gunshot. Later in the movie, in the jungle, Victor is ultimately killed by a gunshot. Then you have, is it Qasim? The Palestinian guy who makes the bomb, who explodes the tree and stuff. He left Israel after orchestrating a fatal terrorist bombing. His journey ends when a tire blows, causing the truck that he's in to detonate in a massive explosion. Nilo, the assassin, the man who made his living by ambushing and shooting people, he's ambushed and fatally shot by those local guerrillas in the end. Then you have Jackie, the American mob driver. His robbery of a church gang interrupted people living their lives and got a priest shot. At the very end of the film, just as he is successfully completing the mission and believes that he has bought his freedom, his past literally walks through the door to interrupt his life. And it's sort of ambiguous, but I think doesn't need to be said, but he was shortly killed right after that. So it's this idea that karma can follow you. And I don't know if I got that the first time I watched it, but it has really added another layer to this movie that I think is just really cool.
I will say you just made the ending better for me. Yeah, because I didn't catch that, honestly, and I was watching it and I
didn't either.
I was watching it and they show up, they walk in there, and I'm like, they're just gonna kill him? Like, after all that, just all the shit he just went through, he's gonna die? Like, that sucks. And then, like, it didn't ruin the movie for me, but I was like, wow, that's really terrible. But honestly, yeah, the theme of fate and karma, that kind of brings it all full circle. And I'm like, you know what? Like, from a real person point of view, that sucks, but from a story point of view, I'm like, all right, I see you. I get it now.
I was just going to add one thing. Like, when the movie was over, I still didn't know why it was called Sorcerer. And then later I was like looking up, I was like, oh, like they don't even say it. They don't even announce that the truck is called Sorcerer. And then there's two trucks. Anyways.
So I've got a soft spot for a movie that picks a theme and just rides it completion despite how that will be received. You know, it's like, this is a pure movie, even if it's not an enjoyable movie. And, you know, I'd be pissed if I went to the theater to watch that, but being able to pick it up on Blu-ray or something and watch it, it's like, dang, they did it right. You know, there's just that level of, well, that's what they were trying to say, and it's a good point, and that sucks. So don't go out and kill people.
Yeah. I think that's one of my favorite things about this, because Friedkin, like he has stated multiple times, this is the film that he is most proud of because there was zero outside influence on any shorter cut, any different ending, nothing. He had final cut on everything, and he chose to make this movie the way that it came out. I just think that's cool. I just like what you were saying, Scott, just like committing to the message. You get this inspiration, you follow through with it, and yeah, this movie bombed. Like no one saw it in 1977 thanks to Star Wars and the confusing title. And I personally, I like it even more because of that. Like I think that's so cool.
Yeah, well, it's just
Yeah.
it's so rare to, especially in film, I would say, to watch a movie and see it undiluted from
Yeah.
producers and the big wigs that are actually controlling everything. Like you never see that.
Mhm.
So it's really cool to hear you tell me about that.
I almost have like M vibes. Like it's like
Ooh.
it's early
Yeah.
enough in the history of filmmaking that there's obviously a lot of studio control and stuff like that already in place, but it's only like 30 years after M came out. So it's
Mhm.
still not present day. It's not 50 years later, or something like today, where
Yeah.
they're like, well, if you want the
Dude.
movie to get made, you have to be approved by the board,
Yeah.
They're very opinionated.
I don't know why that just blew my mind how far apart these movies are in years. Like
Yeah, when
relatively,
you
it's
said that.
like it's relatively not that long, but it's still pretty long. You know what I mean? It's like, dude, like that's such a long time. That's crazy. My
Can we
God.
talk about the explosions in this movie just for
Dude.
like 10
Great.
minutes?
One of the first things I wrote down was after that bomb went off in Jerusalem. I was like, how did they make that so good?
Oh
Like,
my god.
I've never seen an explosion look that good before. I really think that's one of the best explosions I've ever seen.
Every explosion in this movie felt as destructive as it was.
Yep.
Yes.
Like I just remember one scene during the oil field scene when the oil field originally goes up in flames before
Yeah.
the truck driving, and people are just running around. Somebody like run into a hut, and then the
Oh,
hut
yeah.
immediately blows. But there's already a burning body on the ground in front of the hut, and just watching the flames blow off of the burning body, and then they like catch it back on fire. I was that is a really destructive fire.
Yeah. Me and Allie were screaming at that part, and I rewound it like 4 times. I was like, how did they make that? They look so good. The second they go out of frame, like into that little hut, it just boom. It's so good.
Bonkers. No, the big one that got me was the tree explosion scene.
Oh my
They're trying
god.
to when they're trying to blow up that tree that's in the middle of the road. I
Mhm.
think one of the things that made that explosion even bigger to me was after they get their contraption all set up and ready to go, they are running. Like they're not like, okay, set
Yeah.
the light the fuse, hide behind the tree. It's like, no, they are running, they are driving, they are trying to get absolutely as far away from that explosion as possible. And honestly, I remember watching it and being like, I feel like they're running really far. Like, is it really going to
Yeah.
be that big of a deal? And then it exploded, and I was like, holy hell. Okay. that yeah, I'd run that far away too.
That part's awesome because it builds so much like anticipation. Like for me, I was like, "There's no way the whole tree is gonna explode," or I bet you like half of it's gonna be like they're still not gonna be able to clear the road. Like the way that he constructs that like bag of sand and then he cuts it and then it drops and just
So
like
cool.
really genius. And then when the dust settles and the road's cleared out, you're just like, yes, yeah, dude.
Yeah, I
So
think this movie
cool.
does a great job when it comes to like suspense and
Oh yeah.
tension. There's one scene, I'm trying to recall it exactly, but there's a scene where I think it's the Italian guy, he has a gun. And one thing I noticed they did is he fires the gun a couple times and you don't actually see where the bullets are going. Like you don't, he shoots it, but you don't know where it's going to land.
Oh yeah.
And I just distinctly remember having thoughts of like, wait, did they hit, when he shot the gun, did it hit the guy? Oh, it didn't. And then there's a scene where I think he like puts the gun towards him and I literally thought he was going to shoot himself, and the bullet and the gun goes off, and there's just a perfect amount of time between the gun going off and when you see what happens to make you think like, wait, like what happened? Okay. Did he shoot himself? Did he shoot someone else? Like what's going on? And I thought and that was just a really cool and unique feeling for me.
So do you guys, I had this weird, like triumphant, a really sad feeling that the bomb was made by the terrorist guy that was really good with bombs. I was like, this guy's using his old skills to blow up a tree, and that's like a good thing. And it was weird to feel the triumphant skill to use.
Yeah. Fate gets him in the end, though.
Yeah, fate does get him in the end. But yeah, no, I understand that. It's always, I actually really love, it's one of my favorite feelings, honestly, in books and movies when somehow they got you to cheer for the bad guy, or they got you to feel something for the bad guy. Like there's just something unique about that feeling. And then the click realization of like, wait a minute, I should not be happy about this. Like, how did I get teleported from hating this guy or being in a position where I shouldn't really like this person to all of a sudden I'm like cheering for him that he succeeded in something, you know? It's really weird. Like the human mind is so crazy to me. Well, and I think it might just be like, I don't know, like human nature, you know? It's like when we see people struggling, we want them to succeed. You know, I don't think anyone naturally wants people to suffer or to fail. We want them to succeed over anything else. So even when we're looking at people who have done pretty terrible things, they're still in a situation where it's like, okay, they have to drive these shitty trucks across crappy roads with a bomb in the back. We still want to see them get to the end, because if they fell off the bridge into the water, it'd be disappointing. You know, you'd be sad about it. And maybe it's just a human nature thing.
So in Paige's new book, the series is called The Redemption of Emmerich. The main character is Emmerich, and he's this assassin, and he's kind of a terrible dude, but he, for plot reasons, gets pulled out by the deity of that world to like go do the mission for God. Like he's a blues brother. And internally, you see him struggling and changing from who he was to redeeming himself and doing all these good things, but he has to deal with his past and karma and stuff like that throughout the entire series. So Paige and I have thought a lot about how do you make a terrible person likable? And this movie does such a good job in that a lot of times it's like they still need to get what's coming to them, even if it's not up to par with what they actually deserve. Like if you go out and you murder a whole bunch of people, like you should probably just be shot. But you need to see those people suffer, but up to the brink, not too much, right? And that this movie does such a good job. And I was thinking about, what does it mean? Like if you think about like in the Save the Cat structure again, like how do you make a person likable is you make them relatable in some way. And I think there's so much time spent at the beginning of the movie that you're like, oh, this guy's despicable. Oh, okay, this guy's not a good guy either, you know, over and over and over and over. And all of them make these mistakes. They run away from the scene, or they, you know, all of them ran away from the scene in some sense, right? But then once the second half of the movie starts, you're just like, they're in such abject poverty that you're like, all right, I mean, you've done enough penance and you're probably gonna live a crappy life, at least haunted by your dreams or something like that. But living here in South America is pretty terrible in these conditions. So it's like, that's the Save the Cat in this movie. And it's a really dark, but I don't know, effective way to get you on their side, even though, you know, they've got these really sketchy pasts and even present.
That's really good. I was reading up a little bit on, I don't know if I'd never heard of this, but maybe you know it, Scott or Harry, but the Sisyphus myth. Do you have you ever heard of that?
No.
Yeah, pushing the rock up the hill.
Yeah. Okay. So it's this deep existential dark absurdity that's in this movie, and it kind of ties into that myth. I'll just explain it real quick, but yeah, all the 4 guys, they're struggling through that torment and being in purgatory. And then in the end, it just sort of feels like this joke, like a cosmic joke. But it's like the Greek myth of Sisyphus. You're condemned to roll a boulder up a hill for eternity, only to watch it roll back down. And the characters' efforts yield no ultimate reward or salvation. It's just, yeah, I love it. It's kind of like classic storytelling, but like a tragedy story. It's like a tale of caution.
I love that.
There was a few other. Well, we haven't talked about the bridge scene. I want to know how you guys enjoyed that, or if you hated it. We just got to talk about it just for a minute, because I told you my experience. I want to know what you thought.
How could anyone hate that scene?
I know.
No, okay. So honestly, so I was doing a little research on the movie, and there's actually quite a few movies that have remade this or are inspired by it. And there was one that came out in like 2024 or something like that. And I just watched like the trailer for it, and it looks like a Fast and the Furious, like clean cut movie. And I was just like, I watched like 10 seconds of it, and I was like, dude, I went back and rewatched the bridge scene, and I was like, look at this. Like, look at this scene. Like, how can you go from this to that? I'm inspired by Sorcerer, and you came up with this. But no, that bridge scene is just bananas. Like, I can't believe how just the rain is the big thing for me.
The rain.
It's like these actors were miserable as hell like filming this. Like, it looked just so rough.
I've got a great quote. I want to read this. So this is
it.
from Roy Scheider's autobiography, but he says, "What I did in Sorcerer makes Jaws look like a picnic. The stuntmen complained. The stuntmen complained because the principals were doing all their own stunts, but that's the way Billy Friedkin makes movies. The most dangerous scene I've ever shot was the one where we were driving across the rope suspension bridge in a horrible storm, and we kept swaying back and forth, back and forth. What the audience will see on that screen is what really happened."
Shut up. No. No.
Yeah, I got another one right here. It goes, "I was rehearsing to stay alive. When we got to the Dominican Republic, I appreciated all that practice back in the States. Billy's approach to Sorcerer ruled out rear projection or trick photography. The actors, the vehicles, and the terrain were too closely integrated into the composition of each shot. So what you see in the film is exactly what happened. When I take a mountain road on 2 wheels, on a road with potholes the size of shell craters, that's the way it was. No one but Billy Friedkin could have persuaded me to take the insane chances I did. But when it was over and I looked at the rough footage, I knew it was all worth it." And then another thing, that bridge scene was going to cost them $1 million to film, and the rivers kept drying up. I think they had to rebuild that suspension bridge like 2 or 3 different times, and it ended up costing $3 million just for that one. I think it's like 11 minutes or something.
Worth every penny. Holy crap.
Pretty nuts. Also, side note, Roy Scheider got malaria while filming this. This was like the first. I don't know about the first, but this is like one of the original movie sets from hell. There's really cool stories about, like, there was undercover like agents posing to be like film crew guys, and then they saw some of the people on set like smoking weed, so they arrested 20 of them. So they had to like hire new people, and the stuntmen were pissed off. Like, everyone was just like in misery, and it just sounds suicidal. It's so cool. Like true film making.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, dude.
How did they make those trucks drive?
Yeah.
And then how did they make those trucks not kill people? And that answers my question. They just were lucky.
Yeah, a lot of luck.
Totally.
I will say I love, I don't know. I love how long that scene is. Like, I feel like when they filmed it, they knew they had something really good there, and I feel like they could have chopped it up or something, made it shorter. I don't know. I was never bored. My tension was never slackened. every second of that bridge scene, I was glued to the screen. And just like you were saying, Ren, like my butt was just like biting my couch because I just couldn't let go.
Pinching.
It was, yeah, no, 100%. And it was one of those, like, no one talk to me. Like no one walk in front of the screen. No one interrupt this moment because this is something incredible. And I think it's a scene that'll forever be burned in my head.
Yeah.
This is one of those movies that, like the kids went to bed and stuff. I got the house cleaned up. And so Paige and the kids were all asleep. It was like, I don't know, 11:30 at night or something. And I was like, all right, I need to start watching Sorcerer so I can be ready for this movie to record. I turned it on. It was just chilling on the couch watching it. And then the movie was done. And I was like, oh, tomorrow's going to suck.
That's awesome.
That's the sign of a really good movie. It's like,
Yeah.
you either lose time or you don't want to turn it off. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't care. I'll give up energy and sleep so I can watch this movie. That's awesome.
Mhm.
Okay, can we talk about the spiral insanity in the desert rocks?
Dude,
I was just gonna bring that up.
dude, I'm telling you. Okay, I swear I've seen this set piece in like a Star Trek movie or something like that.
Yeah.
Because it was so that's the one thing. Like for some reason it didn't take me out of the movie, but I remember seeing it and be like, this looks so different than everything that we've been shown so far. But
So alien.
But because
Mhm.
he's going like mentally insane, I just bought into it like instantly. There was no I don't know, I wasn't taken out of the movie at all, even though the set was so different than what we're used to. Man, just the thought of you're a guy, you just went through the craziest experience of your life. You're driving this truck that shouldn't be moving anymore. You saw two of your friends blow up. You got your driving companion laying on the floor bleeding out, and you're just losing your mind.
And then laughing at you from death.
Yeah.
Dude, oh my gosh.
Just on the brink of insanity.
Absolutely wild. And then that cut from when the truck dies, he looks down at his speedometer and then he looks up at how many miles the whole trek was, and it's like 1.5 miles off or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
That
so close.
I wrote down, I was like, I wasn't sure why he wrote that number down. I must have missed the reasoning, but when it did that snap up to his handwriting on the dash, I was like, oh, like just a punch to my chest, and it hit me hard. Yeah, that was great.
Roy Scheider's performance when he starts to really crack when they first encounter that fallen tree is like one of my favorite things ever. When he's like starts slapping the ground, and he gets his machete and he starts like frantically cutting down trees, making no progress. Spoiler, that's my slimy scene. Like I love that. That's the first thing I think of, him just losing it, hallucinating in the desert. And then when it cuts to black, and then you see this figure kind of coming from the distance, and it's him carrying that last box. The oil derrick is just like blowing up behind him. He collapses right before he collapses. They grab the TNT, the explosive box, out of his hand. Dude,
Yeah.
it's just like victory. It's so awesome. I love
That
it.
was that was another 1917 vibe for me. Like that scene of
Oh, yeah.
of
That's a
him
good-
busting into the
point.
general's office and telling him you need to stop this attack. Like when he showed up at the end and handed him that box of dynamite, none of those oil guys understood what he just went through. Like I don't know if they could even grasp the experience he just had.
Good
It's
callback.
crazy.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. We should have a comparison. Roy Scheider losing his shit, or General. I can't remember his guy from
Yeah.
1917.
That oil field just spewing flames. Did they just find an oil field and light it on fire? Because
Probably.
I don't know how they could have filmed that any other way. That is such a massive, real, thick, ungodly fire. Like that is
know.
the depths of hell belching.
Gurgling out of the Earth's crust. Yeah, dude.
Out of its
Dude,
chasms.
This
Yes.
yeah, I think this might be one of the most like quote unquote like real movies we've watched in a while.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just
It
like,
feels
no,
like
like
that.
what you see on the screen is what they're recording. Like, you know, little post processing to make it look good, but there's no weird tricks. There's no, you know, CGI stuck on top of things or anything like that. It's just like, this is what you're seeing is what I recorded. That's so cool.
I love that when you can, especially movies from this era, there's just something about the filters or the film quality itself and the color palette and how it's just slightly faded. And just HD restorations destroy the feeling of these movies from this era. But this movie didn't have that. It felt like looking back at my home videos that were recorded by my parents on like a camcorder and just going, yeah, that's like in a dark room with bad lighting and it's kind of gray and a little dull. And this movie's like, by the way, we watched this movie because of the soundtrack. There are elements of this amazing synth music and electronic music that like super early electronic music, and it's so rad and so works. But there's a lot of this movie that's just silence. It's just these people being sweaty, walking through the jungle, and there's like stuff around them. That's it, and it's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, speaking of the soundtrack, though, I really liked. I like the scene where they're fixing up the trucks, and the music that's
Same.
playing during that
Yep.
scene. Like it felt like prepping to go to war. You know, like they're inspecting these trucks. They're just like slapping things on there, trying to get them to work, and it was a cool moment of like they're taking their fate in their own hands in that moment. You know, it's like, all right, I signed up for this. I'm gonna make sure this truck is working. You know, if I get to my destination, it's in my hands. I'm not gonna let anyone else, you know, control this.
I love the scene when all the lights truck turn on bit by bit in the fog at night,
So
and it's like
cool.
backlit, and you just see their silhouettes. I was like, oh,
So good. I like I like when the lights turned on and they're not like even. You know,
yeah.
like
I mean, nothing about this movie is clean.
Yes, it's true.
That needs to be a t-shirt.
Hey, everybody, just popping in real quick. If you could hit that like and subscribe button, that would really help us out a lot. But either way, let's get back to the show.
I'd wear that
Nothing.
t-shirt, man.
Just the truck. Just a picture of the truck with nothing about this is clean.
Yeah.
Okay, Harrison, hold on, Renn. Before we move on, Harrison, I've got a really important question for you.
Oh, was the nudity necessary?
No. What mechanical fix the ship, fix the truck montage was better? Titan AE or this one?
Okay, soundtrack
callback.
wise. No, it's Sorcerer hands down. Look, Titan AE fixing up the ship. There's something special about it, but no, Sorcerer's got it down.
Okay.
By the way, Scott, I feel like what you're going to be doing from now until eternity, you're going to ask me questions comparing to Titan AE, and then you're going to hand me a sheet that's like, look, I've mathematically proven that Titan AE is a bad movie because you said all of these movies are better than it. That'd be so good.
But notice the only thing that we disagree on about Titan AE is the soundtrack. So that's it.
Good point.
I had one little note that I think adds to the Tangerine Dream. Their work on this movie is William Friedkin kind of discovered them, and like I think he saw them live at a concert, and he said he just like went into like a meditative trance, and he was like, I want them to score the next movie. So what's cool is that they never saw the movie, so it doesn't really match up like exact, like, you know what I mean? Like you can kind of tell that they recorded it based on like some notes, and maybe Friedkin explained like the storyline, and I want a song for here and this part and this part, but they kind of did their own thing, and it's, I don't know how to explain it, but there's something about it that I actually think works to its advantage, that it's not perfectly synced and they just were able to do their own thing, kind of uninfluenced.
Shout out to Renn for sharing this podcast with me. But there's this video podcast sponsored by Spotify called Dissect. where this
Incredible.
whole season they're going song by song through Daft Punk's album Discovery, and they're just like really long, really deep breakdown like essays about how Daft Punk, Toman Giman worked through and created these songs. And there's like I've always loved Daft Punk. Renn and I have talked about it multiple times on this podcast, but like I'm getting such deep respect for electronic music as a medium, and I've always liked it, but I've never felt like, it's like the young upstart and they're not using real instruments. And to quote track 3 from their album Random Access Memories, Giorgio Moroder is like, when you let go of harmony and what music is supposed to be, you can make these amazing things. And it's almost like tongue in cheek and kind of cheeky to do that, but at the same time, I think, Renn, why it works is electronic music is not natural, but that doesn't mean it's not good. And it doesn't mean that it can't fit because of the juxtaposition or how well it's just like it makes the unnatural feeling feel more unnatural. I was just listening to the theme song for John Carpenter's Halloween.
Yeah.
This soundtrack, it's so minimalist and very John Carpenter. And it's got this droning like bass bomb, bomb, bomb beneath it. It's terrifying.
Yeah.
It's so minimalist. It's so terrifying, and it's like this driving juxtaposition of like a personification of who Michael Myers is in that movie. He's just unrelenting and slow and ominous, and it just perfectly works because it's unnatural, because the character is unnatural. And I think if I could claim to go on a limb here, like the soundtrack in this movie works because it's not natural, and this whole movie is a theme about purgatory and unnatural consequences for the horrible things that you've already done. It just works.
Yeah. Well said. Yeah, it's very weird. Just puts you in like a off tilted state of mind. And then like I was listening to it right before we started recording. I was listening to it in my headphones. I was mowing the lawn, my favorite thing to do. And I went into like kind of like a catatonical state. Just like that. I just felt like weird and kind of floating, and very effective. Not related, but sort of. I haven't watched this, but I just found out that there is, I think it's like an hour and a half long, but there's a William Friedkin interview where he interviews Fritz Lang. And I really want to watch that now. Yeah. I think William Friedkin, he did it when he was like in his early 20s. So Fritz Lang is probably like 80 years old and just spewing just gold, I'm assuming. But I need to YouTube that and check that out.
Yeah, I need that in my life.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
I wanted to ask you guys about the ending of this movie. So I feel like I'm starting to really like these films for some reason, but at the end of this film, I couldn't kind of help but think, I was like, wow, nothing's really changed. Like their lives have changed because they're dead now, but like the overall like environment and the world they're living in this movie really hasn't changed. Like when you think about it, it's like, okay, so there was an oil, field that was on fire, and now it's no longer on fire. That's really the only thing that's changed in the whole world they're in.
Yeah.
And I kind of had the same feeling in A Quiet Place after the father, sacrifices himself so his kids can get away. I kind of had that same thought of like, oh, nothing's changed actually. But I feel like movies like that really help you focus in on the characters and what they're going through, because you're not as distracted by, changing, this whole world to make it a better place or whatever. There's not these big sweeping things occurring. It's really taking you and be like, hey, don't worry about what's going on in the environment. Focus in on the characters. And I feel like I'm starting to realize how much I love movies that do that.
There's something really human about sharing in someone else's struggle. Hamlet does this. Beowulf I mean, the Northman is another good example, more modern example based on Hamlet, I guess.
Yeah.
I talk a lot about art. I have opinions about art versus content versus entertainment, and like recognizing that there's like a genuinely positive good place for all kinds of expression of art, but there's this aspect of art that is underrepresented because it's hard. It's a mirror of humanity. And when people get rightly upset about AI stealing and then regurgitating art at minimal cost, I think one thing that they're missing, those like I said, those appropriate criticisms of AI, is that AI, even if it makes a perfect representation of human art that can be appreciated and maybe be evocative or whatever the things people define art as, AI will never have the years of human struggle and experience to inform what the final art piece will be. And when you look at a movie like this, the scriptwriters and the directors and the cinematographers and the actors, every single piece of there's a piece of every single one of them that gets put into this movie, and that collective group, the hundreds of people that worked on this movie, it becomes this time capsule of recorded human struggle and endeavor on so many meta levels. And
Yeah.
something that I've just been slowly being able to see bit by bit as we've been doing this show over the past year. There are movies that are funnier and more exciting, and I enjoy them and stuff like that. I freaking love my Fifth Element, kind of nonsense, and Armageddon, stuff like that. But then when you hit something like M, or you hit something like Sorcerer, or even to a lesser extent something like A Quiet Place, which is pure but obviously a crafted story and less raw. When it focuses on the people and less on the plot is there to drive the character motivations. I think that you're right, Harrison. There's just something really special about, like, yeah, that's human. That's I've never been to South America. I've never been driving a truck across a bridge full of nitroglycerin, something stupidly literal, like oddly specific like that. But at the same time, I remember when we were talking about A Devil All the Time, all three of us were really affected with just how like gross human it was.
Yeah.
And what would I do? Or, oh my gosh, there are people like that. And even if it's a little bit exaggerated, it's just, yeah, that's the grungy side of humanity. And it's still worth portraying, the perfect blues and stuff like that. It's
Mhm.
still worth portraying to convey like the complexity of what it means to really be human. And there will just always be a place in this world for humans to want to relate to other humans through human made art, whether or not AI can represent it perfectly or not.
It's
Amen.
well put. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love the feeling of this movie. Yeah, you guys have already said it, but yeah, there's just something so genuinely raw about this whole production that it just feels it's of its time. Like we might never see a movie and like this is 1977 and it feels that way. It's really amazing.
Mhm.
I was curious if you guys read anything about Roy Scheider's potential other casting for his role. Did you guys read anything about that?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so William Friedkin, he was kind of talking about why the movie bombed and why it didn't do so well, and he actually regrets this choice, which I think is insane. But he almost cast Steve McQueen as Scanlan instead of Roy Scheider.
Oh, come on.
But Steve McQueen was like adamant about getting his girlfriend at the time, who's Ali McGraw, like getting her like a role, and he was like so appalled that he would ask that he just like took it off the table for him and then cast Roy Scheider. And he's come out and said that he actually regrets doing that. And I strongly disagree with him saying that. Like I cannot imagine Steve McQueen losing his mind the way that Roy Scheider does.
Yeah.
I mean, he drives cars in every movie, but like, I don't know. I was going back and forth with some people on Reddit who Steve McQueen would have done better. And I'm like, you're wrong, dude. Like, I'm sorry.
Steve McQueen's more of an everyman. I mean, not Steve McQueen. The opposite. Roy Scheider is more of an everyman, and I think
Yeah.
that works to the advantage of his character in this regard. Like Brad Pitt should have been Roy Scheider. You know, it's like I would have seen Brad
Yeah.
Pitt playing it, and even grungy modern Brad Pitt still is Brad Pitt. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. So I thought that was kind of wild. I think he was just talking. I'm assuming he just was defending why it wasn't more successful. Not that that was a better choice, but I found that nuts. Roy Scheider shared his opinions about why he thinks the movie flopped, and I thought this was interesting. But he said the movie was great, but he felt the reason that it flopped and why it was forgotten for so long and only became remembered and recognized years later was that there was quote unquote no one to root for. There are shady characters that made bad choices, which landed them in this awful purgatory from their regular lives. And I see what he's saying about that, but I don't
But why
care
did
about like
Godfather?
how it does. Yeah, yeah.
Why did the
But I
Godfather succeed?
okay, you bring up a really good point. But yeah, I just like a part of me just doesn't care how something does in the theater. And I think that if Star Wars wasn't there, it would just everything would have been different. I feel like people kind of dive into why it didn't do well in the box office, but I don't think it matters. I just just throwing that
Yeah.
little thought out there. But
So I'm gonna really quickly say one thing that I said in my talk this past weekend, as I was talking about art, is when you think of the commercial value of your art, the question is this going to be profitable? But if you're doing art for art's sake, the question is it worth doing? And I think that
yeah,
this movie is worth doing. And it's a bummer that it was not profitable in the box office, and that'll haunt the people. But if that's your metric of success when you're making true art, you're probably thinking about it the wrong way. Now, for an expensive movie, you know, it's not cut dry, right? You have to make money or you can't keep doing the thing. But I think this is a perfect example of this movie was worth making despite it being a flop.
yeah,
And I'm glad that it was made, and I wish that it had been a box office hit, but I do not think that at all is an indicator in the quality and the deeper message that was shared and all the people's experience in the process. Like, it's one of those, it's hard to let go of in the world that we live in where is it profitable is the main question, but I just don't think it matters for this movie.
yeah. I agree.
My last note that I think is worthy of bringing up real quick. I really like the blood in this movie. I feel like there's this era of movie making where the blood is a lot brighter, a lot stickier, a lot just different than what it is nowadays. And I feel like it's just more impactful than kind of what we get now, which is more realistic. And it's like, okay, that's great and all, but I feel like just this era of blood is just, I don't know, it just hits harder.
I agree.
Traumatic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
All right. You guys have any other notes? Anything you gotta get off your chest before we jump in?
Ren, I love you.
I think my only other note is that bar in that village. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, you have a crow walking around on the tables, you're spraying disinfectant all over the place, and you're wiping the silverware on your dirty ass white shirt before you hand it to people. I'm like, I don't know if you succeeded.
Yeah.
I was so grossed out by that whole place, but
Yeah. Who wants to go first?
yeah,
I'll
do it.
take it.
Ooh, okay.
Get it.
All right. My slimiest scene is when Roy Scheider crashes the car, slams it into the fire hydrant, and there's just bodies laying
Oh my
everywhere
God.
and bright red blood all over the place, and just how many gallons of water were gushing out for all those different angles and shots. And you know they didn't turn the fire hydrant on and off in between every shot. And just gosh, the people running in and the chaos and him, like just the how beautiful of a performance of it was of him not even being responsible for the guy shot in the parish, but him being caught up in the thing as the driver. And then he was like, oh, like I killed these people because this guy was gonna blow the head off of the passenger, and like I was distracted temporarily, and him just deciding like I'm gonna disappear and stumbling off with like a broken leg. I was like, this is the craziest I didn't expect this scene I've ever seen.
Same. Yeah.
So that's my slimy scene. I think this movie is probably like a 4. I want to give it higher. The disjointed beginning, I think, is right, but I also think it could have been done differently and still have the same effect. Keep it as long, but somehow interweave in the connections so I just knew what was happening at all. That would have just that would have pushed this movie up to a 5. Otherwise, individually, this movie's like a 5 all over the place, except for the pacing.
Yeah, I
Totally.
get that. Yeah, so I'll take it next. My slimy scene is Roy Scheider's breakdown when they see the tree in the road. Like just that whole section when they show up to that. I think that was the most like emotional scene, and the scene that really kind of made like the bridge scene like was intense, really incredible. But this was the scene that made me go, this movie is something else. Like this is going to stick in my head for a long time. And that's the scene that kind of gave me that 1917 vibe of like, you just got to keep going. You just can't quit. And that's really, I don't know, it's just a really cool feeling to have. You know what I mean? Cause I feel like like just to be open about it. I mean, for me personally, like, you know, I find myself taking the easy road for a lot of things sometimes where it's just like, I can't, you know, push forward. I can't do the hard thing. Like, I'm just going to take the easy road right now, and I'll try and take the hard road another time. And I haven't been taking the hard road with a lot of things sometimes. So just seeing that made me just go like, you got to go. You got to keep going. You can't stop. You can't give up. You can't take it easy. So that hit me pretty hard.
I love that.
Honestly, my rating is basically the same as you, Scott. I'm going to give this movie a 4. Where like the second half of it is like a 7. Like I really love it. But as a movie overall, yeah, that beginning just really kind of threw me off, and just didn't set it up really well for me. And then the second half, like I did say, like the second half does make up for the first half, but if I'm looking at the whole movie overall, I'm like, nah, if that beginning, it's not a perfect film. And but I'm excited to watch this again at some point in my life for sure.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Well, you guys both took my scenes that I had as backup, so I will happily and reluctantly take the bridge scene as the most slimy scene. And there's one part in particular that we didn't talk about, but the part where, let me get his name. The part where Serrano is kind of like standing outside of the door.
Oh my gosh.
And the other guy's like kind of like, I think he's below the truck, and then that synth soundtrack just starts blaring as those branches run into him. And oh my god, that part is wild. I love that part. My second slimiest scene is the one you took, Harris, when Scheider just loses his mind in New Mexico. The blue, the purple colors, hallucinating, the spiraling into hell, and then the evil laugh of the dead comrades just laying
that
right
evil
next
laugh,
to him
man.
is so awesome. And then the feeling you get of the victory, or so it seems, leading to his fate. It's just, I don't know. I freaking love it. It might be obvious, but yeah, this is a 5 out of 5. And like, honestly, like even after this viewing for the show, like at the ending, I was just, I didn't remember it ending it like that. But yeah, like as a whole, this movie is fire. And it was just as enjoyable, not on edible marijuana cookies. So that's a good sign. But
yeah, that is a good sign. I was wondering about that. I was like, wait, hold on. So you're super high when you first watched this. Is it like totally different afterwards?
No, it's just less laughing and like sphincter flexing. Yeah.
I love it, man. I love it.
It was awesome. What an amazing artifact of a film. Really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess we'll just close out. But before we head out, just looking ahead to next week's episode, we're going to be exploring Wolfgang Petersen's magical 1984 classic, The Never-Ending Story. And
dude, I watched that.
I can tell from we're gonna have a lot to talk about.
I will say,
Dude, I'm telling you, it's so different. But just as a preview, I watched this. I think it's the first time I'm actually a movie ahead. So I watched it yesterday, and so I got up here like kind of like never-ending story hyped. I'm like, okay, wait, sorcerer. Okay, sorcerer. Okay,
I did the
got this.
same thing. I was like, hey, I can't be like overshadowing this masterpiece
Amen.
over never-ending story. But, yeah, I had to like re-hone in what we were talking about. But I am like,
Pretty much. No, it's gonna be a blast. I'm really excited to chat with you guys about that movie. It's gonna be fun.
That's a wrap on another episode of Cinema Slime. Be sure to watch the next film before next Wednesday. We had a blast and hope you enjoyed it. This episode was a production by your hosts, Harrison Jensen, Renn Jensen, and Scott Shepard. This is a group effort, and seriously, thank you. Thank you for listening and watching us, however you found us. We really appreciate it. Help us grow by leaving a comment, a 5-star review, subscribe, and share an episode with another cinema lover. Also, let's connect. Find us on Discord and Letterboxd for film discussions, reviews, and recommendations. Also, check us out on social media. We're always posting clips, film rabbit holes we're going down, and interesting stuff. And you can also show your support by using Buy Me a Coffee, and we'll give you a shout out if you'd like. All links can be found in the episode notes. Goodbye.